You know what is crazy? Some of the most trusted features in American automotive history were quietly made illegal, and the companies that built them already had the documents proving the problem existed. They were design choices your family trusted with their lives. Some of these will shock you. A few will make you angry at everyone who was supposed to protect you. Stay for number 3. Ford ran the numbers, calculated what your life was worth, and chose the cheaper option. General Motors ignition switch. The Cobalt was your neighbor's car. Completely ordinary. General Motors engineers knew since 2001 that a heavy keychain could shift the ignition mid-drive, cutting engine power and disabling the airbags. The fix cost 57 cents per car. They rejected it. 124 Americans died. General Motors paid $900 million in criminal penalties 13 years later. Not a mistake. A budget line. They did not run out of time to fix it. They ran out of reasons to try. Number 2. Takata airbag. The airbag was supposed to be between you and death. Takata used ammonium nitrate, the same compound used in the Oklahoma City bombing, as the propellant. In heat and humidity, it became unstable. An 18-year-old cheerleader bled to death in a minor fender bender when the bag fired shards into her neck. Takata had the failure reports in 2008 and said nothing for 6 years. 67 million vehicles. 19 American deaths. The device you trusted most completely was quietly becoming the thing trying to kill you. Number 3. Ford Pinto fuel tank. Ford documented the defect internally in 1971. Rear impacts above 25 miles per hour ruptured the tank. The fix cost $11. Ford's internal memo calculated legal liability at $180,000 per human life. They chose the math. Indiana charged Ford with criminal homicide, the first time in American history an automaker faced that charge. They were acquitted. The fix was never made. They did not make a mistake. They made a decision. 4. First-generation airbags. The federal specification was written for a 165-pound unbelted adult male hitting a wall at 30 miles per hour. For a child in the front seat or a small woman who pulled her seat forward, that airbag deployed at 200 miles per hour from 12 inches away. Between 1990 and 1996, airbags killed 175 people in crashes they would have survived without them. 49 were children. NHTSA had the data from 1991. The reduced deployment mandate came in 1997. The safety feature was the hazard. The hazard was in the specification. 5. Ford Cruise Control fires. Ford's cruise control deactivation switch could short-circuit hours after the engine was turned off, with the car parked and the family inside. The switch would heat up, ignite engine fluids, and burn the vehicle to the ground overnight. Garages went with them. Over 550 fires linked to Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury models from 1988 to 2004. Ford disputed the connection for years while the fires kept happening. The feature that made long drives effortless was quietly burning down American homes. 6 asbestos brake pads. Every American car before the late 1980s had asbestos in its brake pads, up to 65% by weight. Every mechanic who serviced your brakes breathed the dust. The latency for mesothelioma is from 20 to 50 years. Mechanics from the 1960s are still dying today. The EPA tried to ban asbestos in 1989. The industry sued and won in court. The ban was overturned in 1991. The car stopped. The men who spent their lives stopping it didn't. 7. VW Dieselgate. The TDI was the thinking person's car. Efficient, responsible, clean. Volkswagen installed software that detected EPA test cycles and activated emissions controls only during testing. On real American roads, those engines emitted nitrogen oxides at 40 times the legal limit for nearly a decade. 11 million vehicles worldwide, $33 billion in penalties. The car that symbolized environmental responsibility was its exact opposite every day you drove it. They didn't sell you a clean car, they sold you a car that pretended to be clean when anyone was watching. Number 8. Takata seatbelts. 8 years before the airbag disaster, Takata was already recalled. In 1995, the Department of Transportation recalled 8.4 million vehicles for defective Takata seatbelts, mechanisms that could fail in a crash. Same company, same pattern. 8 years earlier. When Takata went bankrupt in 2017, investigators found evidence of falsified safety test data going back years. The full number of defective devices still in service remains unknown. The airbag scandal was not a surprise. It was a sequel. 9. General Motors engine mount. Defective rubber engine mounts were failing under normal use. When one broke, the engine lifted, the throttle jammed fully open, and at the same time it disabled power steering and brakes. The car accelerated with no way to stop it. There were 63 accidents and 18 injuries before General Motors recalled 6.7 million vehicles. The fix did not replace the defective mount. It added a restraining cable around the mount while leaving the original mount in place. The recall fixed the headline. It did not fix the car. Number 10. The seatbelt interlock. In 1974, new cars were required to prevent the engine from starting until the front seatbelt was fastened. Americans yanked fuses, cut wires, and had the system removed at dealerships. Congress received more outraged mail about this than almost any automotive law in history. They repealed it within the year, and they also legally capped the warning buzzer at 8 seconds because it was too irritating to tolerate. Seatbelt use in 1975 sat at 7%. The most effective seatbelt law in American history lasted 11 months. Lead was added to gasoline in 1923 to prevent engine knock. Workers at the first tetraethyl lead plant suffered hallucinations, and some died within months. From the start, the industry knew the risks, and for 50 years they suppressed research and lobbied against regulation. Children living near highways had measurably lower IQ scores. The damage was neurological and permanent. Later research linked childhood lead exposure to significantly elevated violent crime rates across American cities. The ban came in 1996, but in between there were several generations of American children exposed to lead. 12 sealed beam headlights. In 1939, the United States government standardized headlights to a single sealed beam format and made it a federal crime to install anything better. European manufacturers developed dramatically safer halogen headlights in the 1960s. United States law prohibited them on United States roads for 22 more years. Every driver between 1939 and 1984 was legally required to use the inferior product. The regulation was not protecting anyone. It was protecting the format. For 45 years, the law kept you in the dark. 13. Chrome banned twice. Chrome bumpers could not survive the 1973 5-mile-per-hour impact standard. That was the first ban. Chrome trim survived. Then, in 2024, the European Union banned chrome plating on all new cars because hexavalent chromium produced in the plating process is a Group 1 human carcinogen that causes lung cancer. Every worker who spent decades plating chrome in American factories was breathing carcinogens daily. U.S. manufacturers must eliminate chrome from new vehicles by 2039. The first ban was about safety. The second was about the men who never got to find out. 14. Riding in the truck bed. Every summer, through the 70s and 80s, kids piled into pickup beds for parades, ball games, and family trips. No seat belts, no walls, nothing between you and the road but your grip on the rail. NHTSA estimated 50 children under 21 were killed every year doing exactly this. States banned it in waves through the 90s. As of today, 19 states still have no restriction whatsoever on riding in an open truck bed. Your parents didn't know it was dangerous. The data knew. The states just hadn't finished voting. 15. Keyless ignition, carbon monoxide. Push-button start was sold as progress, the premium feature that finally freed you from the key. What the brochure didn't mention was when you step out and the engine keeps running silently, there is nothing in your hand to remind you. Families walked inside while their cars idled in attached garages, pumping carbon monoxide through the shared wall for hours. Families died in their sleep. At least one automaker's internal email rejected a $5 external chime as too expensive. A $5 chime. 28 families. The math was the same kind Ford ran in 1971. 16. Camera side mirrors reduce blind spots by 30% and improve visibility in rain and darkness. They have been legal in Europe since 2016. They were banned on American roads until 2025 because a 1968 regulation still required physical glass mirrors, and no one updated it. NHTSA began studying the question in 2019, and it took 6 years to decide. Americans drove with inferior mirrors on their trucks and SUVs for a decade, while Europe moved on without them. Europe drove safer for 9 years, while America finished the paperwork. 17. The chicken tax. In 1963, Lyndon Johnson imposed a 25% tariff on imported light trucks as retaliation for Europe taxing American frozen chickens. It was supposed to be temporary. 62 years later, it is still in force. It is why you cannot buy a Volkswagen Amarok at a United States dealer. Ford once shipped transit vans from Turkey with rear passenger seats installed just to clear customs at car rates, and then removed the seats immediately after. That tariff is still in your truck payment today. 62 years. A frozen chicken dispute that ended before most of you learned to drive. Number 18. AM radio removal. AM radio has been in every American car since 1930. FEMA designates it the primary emergency broadcast channel, the one that works when cell towers are down and FM cannot penetrate buildings. Starting in 2022, BMW, Tesla, Volvo, and others quietly removed AM receivers from new electric vehicles. No announcement, no public notice. Congress noticed when emergency management officials raised the alarm. The AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act was signed in 2024, requiring AM radio back in all new vehicles by 2027. The automakers did not ask you, they just took it. 19. Pop-up headlights defined sports cars for 30 years. Think of the Miata, the Supra, the Corvette, the Ferrari Testarossa. Pedestrian safety regulations in the early 2000s determined that the hard protruding mechanisms were essentially blades pointed at anyone the car hit. A second rule required the lights to open without tools if the motor jammed. Both requirements together made pop-up headlights commercially impossible. The last set rolled out in 2004. Safety absolutely had to win, but man, cars looked cooler back then. 3 people across the front, your date at the drive-in sliding over, the whole family packed in for summer trips. Modern side airbags are calibrated for 2 occupants in fixed positions. A third person in the middle receives no side airbag protection and may intercept a bag deployed for someone else. Add the impossibility of anchoring a proper center seat belt, and the bench seat became legally uncertifiable. The Impala held on until 2013. The drive-in closed years before the bench seat did. The regulation just made it official. So there you have it. 20 features that were completely trusted. Trusted the way you trust anything that has always been there. On every car, on every lot, with a handshake and a warranty and a brochure that never mentioned any of this. Every regulation on this list has the same shape. An engineer flagged the problem. A memo circulated. Someone ran the calculation. The calculation came back wrong. Not wrong in the way mistakes are wrong, but wrong in the way that numbers can be technically accurate and morally catastrophic at the same time. These weren't accidents. Accidents happen when nobody knew. What you just watched were decisions made in conference rooms, in silence, by a government that occasionally forgot whose side it was on, and by companies that knew the math and chose it anyway. The car in your driveway is safer than anything this audience grew up driving. Not because the industry woke up, not because regulators got smarter, because enough people died that the math finally changed. Every safety standard you have ever driven behind is a number that someone didn't want to reach.